going, you guys? My name is Megan. Welcome to This Past Romance. This is my YouTube channel. I talk about romance books, and today you're getting sports romance book recommendations out of me. We've kind of established at this point that I really enjoy sports and have enjoyed sports my whole life. And so these are just 5 sports romance books that I enjoy and that I'm recommending to you guys because I enjoy them, so maybe you will too. First on the list is one of my favorites on the list, and that's Until You're Mine by Cindi Madsen. This is an MMA romance. We've established I love MMA. I'm a huge fan of the UFC. Again, would not say I'm a huge fan of their president, would not say I'm a huge fan of most of their practices. I think the fighters should be paid more. So this book holds a special place in my heart because it's my favorite sport. This book followed Shane and Brooklyn, and it is a forbidden, almost taboo romance. Brooklyn's family owns a gym called Team Domination, and Shane was a really great fighter, and he had to take a layoff because his mom got sick and he had to take care of her. And he comes back and he comes to work with Team Domination. At that time, Brooklyn had a boyfriend, and she was like, I'm never going to date another fighter, because she dated a fighter and he was abusive and awful to her. So she says, you know, I'm never going to date another fighter. Her brothers are like, don't look at my sister, don't talk to my sister. If you do, you're out. Like, we're done. We're not doing this. And so of course they date, because why wouldn't they? Brooklyn and her boyfriend break up. Of course they date. Here's why I love this book as much as I do. In this book, Shane is so sweet, and he makes a point to point out to, I don't remember if it's her brothers, I think it's her brothers, that men always expect their partner to give up their hopes and dreams and just follow them and theirs. And most of the time, especially in romance books, the partner does. I'll give up my hopes and dreams and I'll let you live out yours, and I'll stand by your side. And Shane knows Brooklyn won't do that, because she straight up told him, she's like, I did that before with my last fighter boyfriend. I'm not doing that with you. I love you, but I'm not doing it. And Shane follows her and lets her follow her dreams, and I think that's awesome. So that's one of the reasons that I love this book as much as I do. And then they kind of point out how easy it is for, and I don't know if it's as easy as they make it seem, but it's a lot easier for like an MMA fighter to do that than it is a lot of other sports, because you need your team, whereas in MMA it's like a one-person thing. Like, they have a team, they have coaches and all that stuff, and they have like the people that they usually fight with and train with, but it's significantly easier for a fighter to have to go somewhere else and train for a while than it is for like a baseball player. So the next recommendation I have for you is A Secret for a Secret by Helena. This is a hockey romance. I got this from Bree. You've heard me talk about this book before. Kingston and Queenie. Kingston is so much like Captain America. Like, so much like Captain America. He is so sweet. He is so sweet throughout this whole book. But like I said, I got this recommendation from a recommendation video from Bree over at In 11 Words. And she said the hero made her think of Captain America, and I said, all right, I'm gonna read this, and I did, same day. Kingston and Queenie kind of had a one-night stand. They didn't really know who each other were at the time. But they didn't have sex. Like, they did everything but have sex. And Queenie ends up being the daughter and the assistant to the general manager of the hockey team that Kingston plays for. And her dad's like, I don't want any of the guys on my team dating you. I don't want you dating any of them. And then they find out that they are there, you know. It was really cute. I really enjoyed it. They kind of sneak around. Kingston would do anything to make Queenie happy. There's this big dramatic thing that happens, and there's this other hockey player that comes in and causes a lot of problems for Queenie and her dad specifically, and the team, causes tons of problems for the team, him and his girlfriend. And Kingston like does whatever he can to take care of her and ensure that Queenie is taken care of. If that's a spa day, if that's going to get her nails done, if that's whatever it is, Kingston has it scheduled and ready for her when he thinks that she's getting too overwhelmed and stressed out. And I cannot tell you how much I love that. I cannot tell you how great I think that is. So this book has the drama, has a plot twist. But I will say that there is not technically like a second act breakup. Like once they're together, they're pretty much together through the whole book. There's a couple things that happen, but Kingston never wants to end it with Queenie. So take that for what you will. I love that book. I love that book. It's one of those books that I wish I could read for the first time again, because last night, I think it was last night, I was talking to Tamika and I was like, I really want to read like a Captain America romance. I want him to be Captain America. Like I want him to be like Steve Rogers. And I was like, I know of one book off the top of my head that is like that, and I've already read it. So my next recommendation is one of my favorites. You guys have also heard me talk about this series a million times over. I've read all the books that are out so far, and that is the Bromance Book Club by Lyssa K. Adams. Specifically the first book, the Bromance Book Club. That book follows Gavin and Thea, and I talk a lot on here about Vlad the Russian, how much I love the Russian, and I talk about how much I love Mac, and they're my two favorite characters, and that's true. But my favorite book is Gavin and Thea's book, and my mom and I had this discussion. My mom's favorite character is Noah, and Gavin and Thea's book is her favorite book too. So Gavin and Thea's book is just amazing. It's a marriage in trouble trope. Gavin finds out after like the biggest night of his life, the biggest game of his life, he finds out that Thea has been faking orgasms through their entire relationship. And like they got together, and I don't think either of them really thought, you know, this was going to be a forever thing. And then Thea got pregnant really quickly, so they like hurried and got married and like did all that stuff. And this is where we first find out that there's a group of men in Nashville who read romance books. This is where we find out that there is a group of men who will always run for grand gestures. Thea is always so quick to defend Gavin in like public situations, which I also really enjoy. Like they go to some kind of baseball thing, and Thea steps out to go to the restroom or something, and she hears a bunch of baseball girlfriends and wives talking about Gavin's speech impediment because Gavin has a stutter. And Thea like shuts it down because they're like, I bet he does that in bed. And she was like, that's not the only thing he does in bed. Like, here you go. And like lights into them, and it's great. I loved it. I loved it. Gavin and Thea's book is my favorite book in the series. If you want to start this series, I feel like you can read them out of order, but I highly recommend reading Gavin and Thea, at least. Even if you don't read the rest of them, Gavin and Thea's book is amazing. Then we have The Change Up by Meghan Quinn. This is another baseball romance. I started reading this series because of Tamika. This is the Brentwood Boys series by Meghan Quinn. They're all baseball books. There's a whole series of them. Tamika's favorite book is The Dugout. Mine is The Change Up. It follows Maddox and Kinsley. This is a Friends to Lovers romance book. Maddox plays baseball for this team. I don't even remember the team name. I've not read a Brentwood Boys book in a long time. But he plays baseball in the city. I think it's Chicago. And Kinsley gets a job at an animal shelter in Chicago, and she calls Maddox and essentially asks, can I live with you for a couple weeks till I get my own place? Like, I'm supposed to start in a couple days. Can I live with you until then? And he was like, you can just live here. You don't have to get a place. Like, you just stay here. I have an extra room, no big deal. There's a lot of drama in this one. Again, like a lot of drama. There's a big miscommunication that happens. I have to give content warnings with this book, and I hate that I'm recommending a book that I have to give content warnings for, but I have to give content warnings for it. For alcohol abuse and domestic violence. Maddox does abuse alcohol, and he gets a little rough with Kinsley when he's intoxicated. But up until that point, it's great. So if If that bothers you, please don't read this book. I don't recommend it if anything like that bothers you. However, this book is great. Maddox has a Prince Albert piercing. There is a lot of interesting things that are not always in romance books that I find. This book was interesting. This book was really interesting. And that's why I recommend it, because there's a lot that happens in it outside of the content warnings. Like Maddox is Prince Albert, and Maddox is this big beefy tattooed dude. He's got tattoos going up his neck. He looks scary. Like, you know, that sounds bad. He looks like the kind of guy like you would picture being really rough, and he's not super rough. Like, he tries to come off that way, and like the strong silent type, he's not. Like, he's really sweet, and he tries really hard for her, and that I appreciated. It does, however, have an HEA, if that helps you out any. And last on this list is Back in the Game by Meghan Quinn. This is another hockey romance. This is in the, I don't remember what series it is. It's book 2.5. It's a novella, so it's really short and sweet. But it is a single dad romance between Calder and Rachel. They literally meet outside of men's restroom in a restaurant. A lot of rest at once there. They meet outside a men's room in a restaurant, and Calder has his daughter. He's a single dad. He has his daughter Shay, and he is dressed as his alter fairy ego Wanda. Like, he's got like wings, and I think he had a tiara on and some makeup and stuff, like his alter ego Wanda. And that's how they meet. And this is essentially the story of how they meet, of how Calder and Rachel meet. I haven't read any more in this series. I haven't read like their actual like story. It was a little too insta-lovey for me, but it was short and really, really cute. So I can't fault it for the insta-love, because it was a novella and it was just about their meet cute and like how they met and how they got to be where they are today. So those are my sports romance book recommendations for you guys. If you read any of these, let me know in the comments down below. If you have any other recommendations, like leave them below. If you have any thoughts on these books, if you've read them, let me know down below. Yeah, that's all I got for you today. I will catch you guys in my next video. As always, be good to yourself, take care of yourself, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.